Greetings. Thank you for joining us for the reading of Christ's letters. This is the fifth installment. This is letter E, because it takes so much time to go through this, and our group that we're all together, that you're now a part of, has a lot of discussion, a lot of insights, and a lot of opportunities to go deeper and deeper into what Christ says. So that takes the time, but we get the full quality. And unfortunately, I can't give you the full quality of that experience. I can only give you mine and what I do remember of it, if anything. So I guess just an encouragement to join us if you ever can. And last week we decided to begin back where we began the week before. We thought it was important enough to review it more deeply than just an overview. So that's where we'll begin. And I'll give you the starting pages. You're looking for, it's all indented and bolded in the text, okay? So what you're looking for is that portion that begins with this ultimate universal dimension of consciousness awareness is not only in space, it is all space. And I've had lots of insights about that because I keep thinking about the creation story and in the beginning, and there's the in the beginning in Genesis, and there's the in the beginning in John. And I'm planning on doing a YouTube on those, so that'll be good. So again, you're looking for the indented center of the page, this ultimate universal dimension of consciousness awareness is not only in space, it is all space. Oh yeah, and then on the pages that you'll find that on is in Christ Returns Reveal Startling Truth. It's page 225, 222, paragraph 5. I do go too fast. If you're reading from Christ Returns Speaks This Truth, the book form and now first printing of it, I like to be specific. That's page 253 at the bottom. If you're reading from Christ Letter 5, the second draft, which I attached to Chapel in the Sky at AOL.com, that's the second draft, the one before the printing of Speaks His Truth. And that's page 160, mid-paragraph, mid-page, excuse me. If you're reading from Letter 5, the first draft, the one before that, is page 17, near the bottom. In the early days, they numbered the letters completely from 1 through however many pages. And then when they put in the book form, they just maintain one series of numbers. And if you're reading from the first manuscripts, it's letter 4A, and that's one that began it all. The original manuscript, that's page 24, and it's near the top of the page. And if you're reading from one copy I have of the ebook of Christ, I have page 195 at the top, but I understand that there's maybe a different edition of that I may not have the up-to-date one, or I may have the up-to-date one. I don't know. So with all that, and I'm still in the space. I mean, it's just so awesome. Let's just take a moment and just recognize that stillness and silence within our mind right now. Allow any thoughts to just disappear. There's no attention. Maybe focus on another thought, but ultimately we come to the no thought, where even disturbances don't disturb, because the stillness and silence recognizes the existence of anything else, but maintains the stillness, the silence. No thought, no feeling, just the beginning of all that is. The stillness and silence. knowing in this very now moment all is well. For we are together, and there's a Christ of us within us, around us, through us, as us, being us, expressing us, speaking and listening at the same time. This is what Christ is describing for us. That in the beginning, before the beginning was nothing but this space that Christ tells us about. That's all that existed. And then through some Big Bang that Christ also expresses and explains, we see how the no form, the before form, comes into existence as form, as consciousness. If this were a ride given at an amusement park, it would be a very expensive ride. For it takes us to the very beginning, before the beginning of anything that is. And I'm grateful for Christ bringing it to us in this way. And I'm grateful for the recorder being able to capture these thoughts, these ideas, these concepts, these revelations, and put them in words and ways that we can understand. Recorder and the Christ truly became one to bring forth these messages. And Christ now brings them forth to speak to that part of us, that Christ of us, that God of us, that part of us that knows what it is directly, to awaken, to nurture, to nourish. To be able to live from this peace, from this calm, from this before the beginning of any creation, any action. As we learn to come from love at all times, we create a better self, a healthier self, a self in harmony with all around itself. And as we do this, we bring it into whatever environment we're in. Even just by being present and still, we can affect all around us. That's a time to place ourselves in the world and not of it. Those times of despair or fear of anything, it's time to say, this is not my world. My world is of peace, of joy, of harmony, of fulfillment, of equality and respect. My world is a world of love, for and from all people, all things, all creatures. Before the beginning is space. There was a time the space the earth occupies was empty, nothing but space. This is fertile soil for the good seed. And when we're receptive to the good seed and it comes, it expresses itself in beautiful ways through each of us. So I give thanks as I and you see this in ourselves and in our world. It is everywhere present. Everyone is expressing themselves. Some we like and enjoy, and some we may have difficulty with. And difficulty is there to show I need to love this as well. What is it in me that's not loving this? Judging it as right or wrong or good or bad. I allow myself the freedom of self-expression. I give everyone that same freedom. It's in our Constitution or in our Declaration. I think it's a Declaration of Independence. For all people are created equal, with certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, freedom to self-express, and the pursuit of happiness. And in this consciousness, pursuit of happiness is harmless to all around itself, and even to the self for its choice. Thank you for this time. Thank you for this opportunity for us to hear the depth, my understanding of this portion of Christ's letters. I invite you to share yours with me. chapelinthesky@aol.com. Now we open ourselves to the reading from Christ directly to each of us, so we understand the truth of being and the true processes of creation in which all things are created, that from which everything comes. I feel blissed out from that. That was wonderful. Wow. All from the opening sentence. I mean, that's really where it comes from. And I trust that as I read, it will come from that depth. I'm going to read and then let you contemplate on your own, because I've done that for me, and I want to offer you that same opportunity to see what this means to you from Christ. This ultimate universal dimension of consciousness awareness is not only in space, it is all space. I call it nothingness. I call it that before anything is. Christ goes on to say, it is undetectably everywhere. We can't see space. There's nothing to see. There's nothing to perceive. It just is energy. And Christ explains this. For those who think in terms of atoms, you can say it, the space, is a space in the atom. Therefore, it is in silence and equilibrium within the space of all elements and matter. And I just like to bring our solar system into mind, because all the planets are revolving around the sun, same space apart, same horizontal pretty much display and everything. And that there's an energy that we can't see and can't be detected that well, it can be detected with instruments, but that holds all this in place. We call it intelligence, but it's the law. It's a system of law. It's a system that works. It cannot work against itself. So I like to think of and that's the same thing as the atom, because the atom has a nucleus and the whole thing. I mean, the whole universe is created this way. There's a center, and there's around the center supporting the center. Wow, that's pretty cool. So this space is undetectably everywhere. This is why science can never find it. It can only be found with instruments. It's an energy, it's a vibration. And yet contains everything it needs to bring forth this fantastic universe. I mean, every planet is so unique. Every solar system is probably unique. Every galaxy is unique. You and I are unique. And that's the way the universe is meant to be. Nothing is duplicated. For those who think in terms of atoms, you can say it is the space. So the name atom is a space in the atom. And yet truly it's a space of the atom. So there's no place that this space is not. So the space becomes the atom. That's, the space becomes the atom. That's a good way to see it. Therefore, it, the stillness or the atom, either in both, is in silence and equilibrium within the space of all elements and matter. In this space, there's no matter. That's the first expression from the nothingness into something. And we're calling that matter. Even if it's consciousness, it's still matter. It still has an individuality becoming from the space, the allness. It's coming into its own manifestation. The nature of universal consciousness is, so there's the ultimate universal consciousness Christ has talked about previously, and that's the space, the no-thingness. That's right, we went over this the previous week, so I don't have to spend this much time on it, although it really feels good because it's like I got a new insight. Now it gives more insight into all that I'm reading, so I'll try not to do that. Okay, the nature of universal consciousness. So this is the first, like separation, without separation. It's the first becoming of space into something, of nothing into something, of formlessness coming into form, at least giving form. So it's all matter. So the nature of universal consciousness is intent. The intention is inactive and in equilibrium. I think right now the intent may not be, this is a discussion we had last night, that perhaps intent is not known at this point, but the possibility for it exists. Okay, there's just this chaos that we read in a little bit. No, that was last week's, that was last night's. I'm sorry, I'm 2 weeks behind, so I'm a little off. Well, I'm always a little off. So there's something, there's a space that's nothing. I mean, you've seen it in, well, just think of it as in a pond. You just see that state of total nothingness, just total beginning of all that is. And then you throw a rock into it. Okay, a nice sized rock. You make some nice big ripples and they go out. And it starts with that rock hitting. Before that rock, there's nothing. Okay, so, and I'm beginning with form, and this is beginning without form. So we have to think of that space as the nothingness, the serenity, the possibility of anything that activates it. Okay, and then it decides its purpose for that activation. I'm sorry, this is just so incredibly science and spirituality in one. You know, it's really what it is. Christ is bringing the spirituality into the science so we understand it. Okay, so intent is inactive and in equilibrium. Therefore, universal consciousness is an infinite, eternal, limitless, boundless state of. So thinking of our galaxy for a moment, before the galaxy existed, there was nothing, okay? Nothing at all. Now something has breathed upon the waters, as it says in Genesis, and created this so-called disturbance. And it's becoming conscious, like us waking up in the morning and shaking off a night's dream or something. It's like, okay, I'm here. What am I going to do? I don't know. We stop playing around with it. This is in our mind. Now in spirit, I have no idea, because I can only think the way that I think. I have no idea how the universe actually does all this. But in knowing us, we have an idea of how the universe does it. So therefore, universal consciousness is an infinite, eternal, limitless, boundless state of powerful intent, pristine, pure, beautiful. Only potential, only possibility without even knowing what that potential possibility is. This is all before the Big Bang. Okay, good. Good, 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 good. And we may not get to the Big Bang tonight, maybe next week's. So this powerful intent, the serenity of the top of the water, pristine, pure, beautiful. No movement at all. A breeze can come along and we can see the ripples go across it. We can throw a pond in. So if we think of nothingness in that same way, that's kind of what happens, is something activates this. And this intent is to express its nature. I want to find out who I am, why I'm here, what's going on, the way people think. Universal consciousness nature intent is the allness and will of purpose. No, I'm sorry. Let me repeat that because I didn't incorrectly. The phrasing in these is very, very important. Let me show you what I've done. I like to do this because I love writing in my books, because it helps me when I go back and review, I can do it. But I just want to show you what I've done with brackets. No need to read what I've written. It's not important. I usually don't read it on or before or during the call. Anyway, I just want you to see I do brackets within brackets, because the phrasing of this is why meditation is so imperative for reading letter 5 especially. As I say, the phrasing, and this is why I so honor the recorder of being able to get this so I can understand it. For most of us, and we talk about this on the calls constantly and consistently, it takes us a long time to get through this letter. That's why this is the 5th installment, and there's at least 2 more to come. Okay, it's good, as Christ says, take a piece, meditate on it. And I'm just giving you my meditations and my thoughts, and you can stop the recording at any time. That's why it's good to download it, stop it, and contemplate, reread it. Re-listen to it if you want, but I think getting this on your own, this is what I'm proposing, is I'm just planting seeds, seeds that have come from the fruits of my understanding and insight. And you have fruits and understanding and your insights that I want to hear also. So this is the beauty of the Tuesday night call. We get to interface master to master. And it's really awesome, awesome, awesome to be in a Christ Way community. So I'm going to start without stopping. This is something that I keep doing. I was challenged on that last night on the call of maybe if you read it all the way through without interrupting, we might be able to understand it. So I'll do that this time. That's not a promise, it's an intention. Powerful intent, pristine, pure, beautiful. This intent is to express its nature, universal consciousness nature. Universal consciousness nature is intent. And intent is the allness of will and purpose. So intent is, always locked in embrace. So let me talk about intent, because everything through this creative process, the space itself, is composed of masculine feminine vibration. And the masculine feminine, because always attracting and pushing away, they're always in an equilibrium of space, of great excitement. If I had the magnets, I would say there's a space where they're in total equality. They're not pulling or pushing. They're just in total balance. And this is what Christ is talking about. And this is the whole space of universe. This energy of nothing but vibration, excitement. Use me. I'm ready to do something. I don't know what it is, but I want to do something. And then poof, something happens, and that's a big bang, but that's down the road. But still, this is all before the big bang. Okay, so I wanted to make the point of will and purpose. Okay, we're going to hear the masculine and feminine all the way through this creative process. That's why he spent the time on intercourse in letter 4, so we could have the male-female characteristics and how they bond and meld and merge, and how spirituality is born as well as the ego is born and all that. So now we take that from our human physical consciousness understanding, and we bring it into this abstract, it was called last night. It's a perfect word. It is very abstract. That's why meditation is so important. So this will and purpose is always locked in equilibrium. It's always in this push-pull syndrome all the way through. So now he takes out the purpose of the will and the purpose of the purpose, okay? The universal will, which is the masculine, is to move out and create, the initiator, the catalyst, the beginner, okay? Okay, so that's the will, and that's the masculine. The feminine is the universal purpose for the will is to give individual form to creation and experience it. The feminine is the womb of the universe. That's what brings the invisible into visibility, and nurtures and nourishes and all that. So the masculine is always the active, and with the active we also have the corresponding inactive, and the two are in a consistent. We can't see the difference of it because it's so one. So we can only know about it what we know about it, but it can't be seen or proven. Okay, so that's the universal. Now he goes back to the within the ultimate universal dimension. So the ultimate, again, remembers the space before anything. Excuse me. Within the ultimate universal dimension of consciousness, awareness, intent, universal will is in a state of mutual restraint. So Christ is showing us that from which everything comes. So he's talking about the that, which is the ultimate, from which everything comes. Okay. Within the ultimate universal dimension of consciousness, awareness, intent, universal will is in a state of mutual restraint with universal purpose, both in perfect equilibrium within silence and stillness. In that activity, there's perfect stillness. You know, that's why meditation is so wonderful, because that's, for me, this is all meditation means. It gets to get my mind, to get my intellect to that place of no thing, so I can be in the stillness and silence with no activity disturbing that peace, that silence, that calm, that serenity. And then when that thought, that good seed comes in through these letters, through our openness to it, it will attract the good seed. And then we have our meditation. Then it speaks to us. It infuses us with its presence. We can ask questions. We can ask of problems for resolve. And in this state of consciousness, everything we need is given to us. This is a state where we do our prayer from, where we pray for ourselves and our world, our friends, those who have asked us for prayer. It's in this state of consciousness, because now we're at the state of first cause, the beginning of the word, and then the word becomes action. Wow. This is why I feel my prayers are so strong, just as Jesus, and I'm not comparing myself to him in equality of consciousness, but definitely on the path to that, of realizing this and stating my prayer from this with the authority of that which knows that what it is. Um, the word carries, we are the creators, and that's how Christ is telling us through these letters. We are the creators of our world, but we create it in accordance with our beliefs. So as I believe I am God, I am creative, I am Christ, I am a master evolving, I am a light of the world, as I recognize this and call it forth from others, this is what the world becomes. And for me, I still have this dream. It's now September 12th. As I said, I'm a week late on this recording. So I still desire to see world peace by December 31st. The clock is on. I'm releasing it. I'm not, I just want people to know that we can do this. We can see this. We can doubt it. That's okay too. It's going to happen, whether by December 31st or next year, or January. I know it's going to happen. It's got to. I mean, it's the survival of our planet, and it's creating the heaven on earth that I see. That all of us being in this beautiful presence of being divinely guided through all of our actions, all of our words, seeing everyone as equal. Um, what a new world, and this is what Christ really is doing with this letter. This is why he came. This is why he came 2,000 years before in a body. He said, this is, this belief you have in God is ridiculous. There's no separation of God. There's no creative in a body or speaks his word physically. It's an expression of itself. It doesn't know what it's becoming. It just lets itself become that which it's becoming. And it's every point along the way, it has an idea, oh, I'm going to become this. And everything it needs to become this, he becomes it. So, it's a beautiful experience to go from how many billions of years ago has this all happened? I mean, we've got to realize that before anything there was nothing. So how long has this nothing existed before, all this, when our galaxy was finally born, and then our solar system within the galaxy was born, and then our Earth within our solar system was born, and then evolving everything that we need, everything to nurture and nourish us to come and be in the existence that we are in. And now at the portals to bring forth the kingdom of heaven. Now, all that we see going on in the world is a call for love. Marianne Williams says this in everything that she writes, or everything I hear from that. Everything is an expression of love. It's either calling for it or becoming it, expressing it. And when people realize that we don't have to be enemies, that we can respect one another by first respecting ourselves, we can create a world so beautiful that, the world will no longer attract a consciousness of less than this. The world itself will be in Christ consciousness. And there's a belief this is an experiment of the universe to see if we allow something to exist as God, although I don't think God thinks that way, but who knows, maybe a part of it does. So anyway, I'm sorry, back to the letter. Thank you for this. I really appreciate it. And I think it's because of a call we had last night. Um, today's Wednesday, and again, I'm 2 weeks late, but the call we had last night seems to really come back and kind of like the tide of the ocean coming in and bringing more and more and more of itself into it. Okay, so again, we're talking about will, which is a masculine. So here's another aspect. Universal will is universal intelligence. There's nothing without intelligence. Nothing, except nothing itself. Once something is something, it has intelligence, it is intelligence. It's part of its makeup, of its energy. So the feminine now, the universal purpose, is universal love. Okay, so we have the masculine on one side of intelligence, and we have feminine on the other side of love. Okay. I'm so seeing this anew in this reading. Thank you for letting me share it with you. Universal will is universal intelligence, masculine. Universal purpose is universal love, feminine. Universally, two of them, in equilibrium in mutual restraint. Out of this mutual restraint, out of which all things visible and invisible and human impulses have taken form. So even the invisible is involved in this. It's like the matter that the form comes from, the foundational structure, yeah. If you could receive the fullness of universal reality into yourself, you'd be disintegrated by its explosive power and dissolved into formless consciousness awareness. As much of this as I believe I have grasped, Christ is saying, you ain't close. If you were close, you couldn't be in a body. Okay, and this is why Christ said, I can't come in a body this go around in the year 2000 AD. I can't come in a body. There's too much for me to express, and you would not be able to understand it if it came out of my mouth. You have to take it from these pages, from these concepts, and individualize it and know and allow it to awaken within us, because he's just telling us this is who we are. This is what we're coming from. Okay, so if you could receive the fullness of universal reality into yourself, you'd be disintegrated by its explosive power and dissolved into formless consciousness awareness. It as far transcends the individual humanhood as the heat and light of your sun is billion times more powerful than the light of your fireflies flickering in darkness. Okay. Okay. I'm going to go ahead with what we did last night because this is 39 minutes long. Or maybe I'll stop it here. I'll stop it here and have a 5F. Okay. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for all that's been revealed. I'm going to listen to this again, I think. Well, I'll reread it again and see what comes up again, because, yeah, I'll just reread again. And I invite you to do the same. Thank you so much for being with me. And thank you if you've had to have patience to get through this with me. I apologize. Doing this a night after call probably is not a good idea because I'm so still juiced up from the discussions we have. I mean, here we have masters, and we're all masters, and it doesn't matter if one is on for the first time. We have one that says, I have no idea, or I'm not understanding a lot of what you're saying, but I know that it's good, and she's receiving it. So, you know, it's, and you know, we're all developing a mastery. It's just really, really great to have a group to evolve with. And this is what Christ wanted. He wanted small communities, you know. He doesn't define size. He lets the community define its size. So right now we have probably 7 of us active, but there have been times that there have been 2 active. There have been times that there's 16 active. But whatever it is, you know, we get something, we become this light, we become the masters, we become the leaders of our life, and then we can take it into our world through that authenticity. So again, I thank you. This is acknowledging you, so I'm acknowledging myself. So thank you for being this light. Thank you for taking it on and making yourself and our world a better place. God bless you. Namaste.